Gino's Pizza and Grill, and thank you there, Austin Dillon, as well, to bring us back from break. Happy to have on the Bench Racing Hotline when we talk IndyCar. We only talk with one guy. It's our rule, Robin Miller. Hey, Robin, how are you?
Good, fellas. How are you guys today?
We are terrific. I thought a pretty good opening to the brand new IndyCar season. New car, new engines, new drivers, new everything. I thought it was a positive start.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a story yesterday on the Speed website, just the fact, there wasn't blown engines right and left, and everybody kind of drove like professionals and didn't go nuts. And the cars, I mean, yeah, there were some, a few glitches with batteries and gearboxes and a few issues, but hell, that's to be expected. You're starting from scratch. It's just that it's been so long since we had anything new that people have forgotten there are teething pains, with the new car. But I'd say, there was quite a bit of passing, even though ABC didn't show it. Race.
That was my only problem with the whole thing.
I definitely think it was a good start.
Yeah, my only problem with the whole thing was ABC's coverage of it. I couldn't figure out what they were trying to do.
Well, I can't. When you don't care about your product, and ABC and ESPN clearly have not cared about open wheel racing for 30 years,
yep.
And you go through the motions and you put the people on the broadcast and in the production trailer that they have that don't have any idea of how to cover and follow a race, you're going to get, I've got all these emails in my mailbag. I'm doing my mailbag right now, and all these people are like, hey, Miller, why does ABC have to show the race? It's boring. It's terrible. They're uninformed. They don't pay attention. They never saw the lead change. They went back and got it 10 minutes later. They never talked about Bourdais. They never talked about when he dropped out or J.R. Hildebrand. I mean, it is amateur night. Always bad coverage is what I started calling it about 30 years ago, ABC.
Well,
and they've done nothing to change my mind.
What was the reaction to people who were there as far as the new car goes and the look of the car? It seemed to me that once you kind of, realize that, hey, we're in this is new and this is what we've got, you look at it and say, you know what, it's okay. I can kind of live with this.
Well, I think I've said it on TV and written it. And I mean, the car looks a lot better at speed than it does sitting there in the pits. It's tough to get used to, no doubt about it. The back's pretty wild. It looks like an ALMS car. But, I just think that it's the kind of thing is it's different, it's new, and hopefully, it's going to evolve. Hopefully next year there's going to be 2 or 3 different looking cars. If Honda and General Motors can build an aero kit that's noticeably different to the eye, that'll be great. Maybe we'll have 3 or 4 different looking cars and 3 or 4 different engines. I mean, that's the goal, is to get this thing kind of headed back to where it used to be.
Well, it was fun to actually see on the entry list where they list the engine type that there was actually something there that was a little different instead of just wasting ink printing Honda over and over and over again.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of nice to see that again. And I think, like you say, is you have to have that kind of brand battle in the engines, in the car, in the chassis, for people to get interested in it again. But otherwise, what fun is it? It's better to have that kind of brand battle.
Well, there's a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people go to the races to cheer for the drivers or to watch the fast cars or to just hope for a good race. And they couldn't really tell you a Lola from a Renard, from an Eagle, from a McLaren.
Right.
Or they couldn't tell you from a turbo engine from a normally aspirated engine. There's no doubt in my mind there are a lot of people that don't really care that much about the cars and the engine. But having said that, there's a lot of people that really do care about it. And, a lot of those people are probably my age, and they grew up with the Indianapolis 500 and being such a challenge for innovation. So there's a happy medium to be met there someday. And, if they can figure out how to make the Delta Wing work on an oval and they can let that come in and race, I think the more the merrier. I think we're all kind of under that. We'd like to see that happen. It's just that it's awfully expensive, and there aren't a lot of companies right now. They're just gung-ho to build Indy cars because there aren't that many left. I mean, Swift is a little company in California. I'm not sure they can handle a lot. Dan Gurney's helping on the Delta Wing. So, I'd say for what they've faced with economically, they've come out with a decent package.
We're talking to Robin Miller from Speed and talking IndyCar. Robin, we're of a I think a similar age, and I remember those days back when there were different things happening at the tracks, different cars running. And one of the things I saw in the coverage that had was a touch of nostalgia to me is that Lotus logo on a few uniforms out there. But I have to say I don't understand what Lotus is getting out of this. I mean, they're not even selling cars over here, and we're not. It's not
well,
like.
I think they sell a couple hundred cars a year. I'm not sure. It's a good question. I don't know what motivated. The guys in. He says he's going to be at Le Mans. He's in Formula One. I just say, there's a lot of. It costs a whole hell of a lot of money, and I don't know that he's got that kind of money. But they just sold. A very rich guy bought into Lotus or bought the whole company. So maybe maybe it's possible that they can. They keep saying we're going to have 12 engines this weekend and we're going to be competitive, and we've made it our we've definitely made it our goal to make this thing work. So we'll see.
Well, I hope they stick it out because I wasn't trying to be negative with it. I'm watching it. I'm watching it, and I hope it's not going to be one of those things where they're in for a year and then we got to look for a replacement all of a sudden. When they do finally get some teams put together. So hopefully they'll stick.
The same thing.
Yeah,
it's going to be awful tough for them to. It's going to be awful tough for them to compete with General Motors and Honda.
Yeah.
And pretty much when you saw last weekend, I mean, they were 3 or 4 mile an hour slow down the straightaway, and they had all kinds of problems with their software getting in and out of the pits. So they got a long, long way to go before they can, pull this thing out. I mean, Bourdais did a good job before he broke. I mean, he was running 5th or 6th for a while, and that's about as good as they can hope right now.
Well, we had a mutual friend of yours and ours on the show last week, Dave Despain, and the one thing that Dave said was, it's IndyCar well and good kind of down in St. Pete, but what happens when it's, not in glamour capital where, part of the reason to go to the race is to have somebody see you be at the race. Is the fan base going to be able to hang in there as we move to other venues throughout the year? Do you see it as growing or extremely slow growing? Well,
I think slow because you got to remember the split. It ravaged the sport as far as I just think it ravaged the sport in terms of loyalty and interest, and I'm not sure. I just don't know how we can ever get back to where we were in the 90s because NASCAR is so far ahead of IndyCar right now. It's staggering. I mean, NASCAR gets fabulous ratings. I mean, people are talking about all the empty seats at Bristol. I said, well, they still had 70,000 people and a 4 rating.
Right.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, the thing I saw, I think if the overnight rating I saw for the IndyCar was a 1.1 and and if I remember right, the nationwide was a 1.6. So it still has somewhere to go. And like you said,
it's absolutely got a long way to go. And a lot of people, I'm 62 years old, and a lot of us old-time, old-school open-wheel fans, I don't know that there's a lot of young people that are taking our place.
What will it take?
What I think, yeah.
What does it take to get that young fan interested in open-wheel racing again?
Well, I guess Marco Andretti, Graham Rahal, Hunter Ray, J.R. Hildebrand, Joseph Newgarden, maybe some young Americans, and maybe new cars that catch their, some guy sent me an email. They say, hey, my 7-year-old son was riveted to the TV Sunday watching the new IndyCar. Well, you hear a lot of people hate it, a lot of people like it, but that's where you have to start. I became a fan when I was 8 or 9. That's how, that's how you have to be cultivated from that age.
Yep, exactly. Well, as always, we appreciate your insight. We will talk to you again probably in a couple of months or so.
Okay, call us for Indy, fellas.
All right, have fun. Thanks, Robin.
Robin Miller from Speed, and I don't know, probably the number one proponent of IndyCar racing, I think.
He loves his IndyCar racing. He's passionate about it, and he takes some heat for that in a way.
He does, and he gives it back
because he is passionate about it, and he wants to see it go in one
direction.
direction.
I like the fact that